Good evening, Free Enterprise fans. My name is Twisted Flax, and welcome to a special presentation from the Fabul Gauntlet. Round 3 of the Swiss phase of the tournament is in the books, but before we continue into the fourth round of matches starting tomorrow, we thought we'd take a moment to point a spotlight at and rewatch a simply amazing race that took place this round. This race was between two of the more accomplished runners in our tournament, both of whom were sporting 2-0 records coming to this match, namely penguin8r and Project Dia. And we are very lucky to have them both here tonight to talk with us, get the reactions, and talk with us through what was going on through their heads as they played the match. penguin8r, Dia, thanks for taking the time to talk with us. How are the two of you doing?
Howdy, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yep.
Great. Both of you were coming into this round with a perfect 2-0 record. And, of course, the way that the matchmaking works in Swiss tournaments, you knew you were going to get a strong opponent this round. How did you feel when you drew each other in the third round?
Penguin8r was one of the people I was fearing more than others, so I know I could do it, but I figured I was going to take a bit more risks to beat him, so yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I've seen Dia improving a lot. Of course, making a big splash in the Hopen last year and coming out for the Lunar Racing Club races, the Underground Racing Club races a lot. And so was looking forward to this match, knowing that Dia's definitely on the rise and always a good person to race.
No, absolutely. I think we're about ready to go in just about a minute or two. As you're ready to sit down, ready to race, how did you rate your chances going into this? Do you think you're going to be able to take home a win or not?
I had about 50-50, because honestly, with us, I think it could have gone either way.
Yeah, any race I'm going into, my mindset is thinking that I can win. I just think that's kind of how you got to approach things. But yeah, definitely going against Dia, I knew that Dia is someone who could take a match off me, so it definitely needed to be playing my best.
No, absolutely. You both are very talented runners, and I think we're in for a treat as we're going to get going right now. As we get the VODs up and running loaded, just want to give a shout out to the helpers behind the scenes tonight with Yofis Manho doing the restream duties, and tracking for us is going to be Gambit. I want to thank you guys for your help as well. And as we get the game going here, I don't think we're going to spoil you too much by saying we started out with a Porum and a Cane. And we didn't really get a key item. We got the Bahamut summon from our first check. Did this change your opening strategies at all?
So not immediately, for at least for the Bahamut summon, I mean. But kind of in the back of my head, I'm thinking, of course, if I find Iridia, it's just going to be really strong. Might have prioritized a little bit character checks as a result. And also kind of hoping to perhaps find a Tiara, just getting geared up preemptively in case that Iridia does show up.
For me, it was kind of like I was looking for either a cane weapon or potentially shopping a bit more and getting vampires, because you don't really get much damage off the very start with these two.
No, absolutely. One of the things I've learned as I've been playing these flag sets is that vampires can be a very strong early game strategy to get you through those first few checks.
Yeah, and on that, with the Cane start, I will kind of lean a little bit more into looting versus, say, early shopping, because finding a decent weapon for him, he can then kind of take you through all the first few dungeons and start to get levels and power up.
And we do get that Blizzard Spear like really early there, so that kind of just mitigates that whole thing.
Yes. We got our objectives here. We had to defeat Odin. We had to rescue the hostage on Hobbs. We had to find Tella. We had to burn down Mist Village, and we had to clear out the White Spear altar. This seemed like a pretty standard set of objectives. Did anything strike you guys about this set?
I think I was counting these up, and it's basically one boss hunt, one character hunt, and one key item hunt. So kind of a mix of everything. Kind of thinking that it may end up going kind of long, with all the different hunts that there are. But of course, Hobbs will be pretty early, so that one's one to check off already.
And whenever I do the objectives, at the start, I always just kind of keep my eye out as I flip through. I just want to see like what I have to hunt. So my eyes always are drawn to the bosses and the character hunts compared to everything else.
And going into Damsian, I prefer not to activate the hovercraft personally, if I don't need to. So I do try to look at those objectives. Of course, if there's a turn in a Ratdale or something that requires the hovercraft, then I'll just activate that immediately. But in this case, I didn't have to.
For me, I use this time to go to the menu and check the track, and I'll input all of the objectives right here after I check them.
It's a good way to use that cutscene time.
Yes, Dia mentioned here having the Blizzard Spear already for Kane. I think that was from Baron. That's not his best weapon, but certainly good enough to get past the first few fights. So I'm feeling ready to go ahead and start taking on the bosses.
Right, we have the watery pass check here, and it's a mile on Z, so that's a quick reset. Dia, you chose to go to Antlion, while penguin8r, you actually chose to go to Hobbs. I mean, those are obviously the two obvious first checks you do. Is there a reason why not you would go to one over the other?
Personally, I generally favor Hobbs first if my starting party is fairly strong, and in this case, that means having a Blizzard Spear or better with Kane. And that's because I think picking up a character is typically more of a boost than either the items in Antlion or the small amount of experience there. And so my early checks, I'm just kind of looking to increase my kind of damage output as quickly as possible.
I'm actually kind of the opposite. I usually do Hobbs if I'm feeling a bit weaker and feel like I need the character. And here, like, I had such good armor and weapons already, I felt like I could just go on ahead and do Antlion.
Absolutely. I am legally obligated to state, since we found Yang on Hobbs, fighting Mom Bomb is a even randomized. Double vanilla.
And just to be clear, I was the one who rolled the seed. I may or may not now be banned from rolling seeds.
This is your fault.
Yes.
I guess one note about the vanilla fight is, of course, I've run the vanilla game in the past, so I kind of know some strats for this. So one thing is we try to do the kick kind of right timed with the explosion to kick all the split bombs. Unfortunately, I'm used to running on the 1.0 version of the cart in vanilla. For Enterprises 1.1, and one thing that changes is that explode timing. So my kick wasn't quite timed right.
Meanwhile, in Antlion Cave, Dia, you find Asura, and what I think is one of the better places to find her, because you can pretty much out DPS her heals. Were you happy to find her there?
Yeah, especially since I had the Elven Bow and Uterus already. So getting that weakness just means you can take that out real easy.
And you find the Magma Key here as well, so that opens up the underground for you.
Yeah, and wouldn't you see the Magma Key? Like, that's, for me, is like, okay, now we need to do Sylph before we head over to Fabul. And just so we can combine those checks. And also, like, while we're down there, we get some shops, we get the free chest and the Fame March.
It does open up a lot more options, and it could potentially make the seed even more difficult to correctly route. I believe we're actually just going to be switching sides here. penguin8r, you're going to go through Antlion now while Dia climbs up Hobbs. And I have to ask you one thing. I love the color you chose for your background, Dia. Is there any reason why you chose it?
No, I just kind of alternate between the pink and a darker teal. Yeah, I just felt like pink that day.
It's very nice. So with you have Yang now, penguin8r, going into this fight. It's they make it a little easier than just going into it with just the two characters.
Yeah, depending on the boss. I think we picked up a few claws, maybe a cat claw, and maybe an ice claw. So certainly if we find a boss that we can exploit the weakness, then Yang's going to do a lot there. Early on, he's not all that strong without hitting weakness. With Asura, he's not the best.
No.
And I think that's a cat claw doing over 200 with powers. Pretty good for base levels.
Anytime you can get those, Ying's best equipment early. I mean, he doesn't have much in the way of endgame equipment, just the cat claw, and there might be one other as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, if you can find those early, that helps make up the difference from when he doesn't get his levels yet. So yes, once again, penguin8r, you clear that race that boss up pretty quickly, and you got your magnet key now. What are you thinking about your routing choices?
With the magnet key that early, pretty much want to rush down there. Probably check out shops and the free key item chest. And since we haven't done Fabul yet, we can go to Sylph and get the first Sheila check in along with our Fabul check.
Absolutely, and the dream is still alive to find that pan somewhere and do the single visit to Fabul in the get all the key items out of there.
Yeah, and also, especially with Kain, then if we can find some sirens, popping an egg would be pretty good. And getting Kain some levels boosts his damage a lot. It's basically like doubling between level 10 and 19 or so. And also, if we can get an early Berserk on Porum, that would help a lot.
Absolutely, and here you guys are high-fiving as you drop the key down the well. Spoiler, this won't be the first time you do this.
I do want to call out, I know Dia used Lit Bolt on the small bumps, which was a really nice strategy. I think either I was not as smart or I didn't realize I had a Lit Bolt. So it took me a little longer to take out all the bombs. I was mixing in kicks and some other things.
I think that may have came from Antlion Cave.
Yeah, it could have been, and then so I wouldn't have had it yet.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, so the Lit Bolt does HP based health. So even though the orange bombs are resistant to magic with pretty high magic defense, then the Lit Bolt doesn't get mitigated on them.
So Dia makes a beeline down to say down here, Tamara, yes, that's it. And there were boxes in that shop, but you didn't seem to want to buy any. It's not a item you were looking for this time?
I kind of just wait on boxes, like make note where they are, and if I need them, I'll get them. But they're so expensive, I don't like picking them up before knowing what my final party is going to be.
Yeah, that's understandable. Even if I do pick up some early, I usually will kind of hold on to them till later because they just spending so much money on them. It feels like you don't want to do it just to save a few seconds on early boss fights.
penguin8r, you also went to Tom Run. I've got to point one thing out. Dia validated her seed. penguin8r, you didn't validate your seed. Shame.
To be fair, I didn't know this would be restreamed.
We're heading down now into Feymarch with Dia, and she's going to find a very interesting item down here. It's the Darkness Crystal. Now you got basically the entire seed cracked wide open. How is this affecting your routing right now?
So right now, my main thought is, okay, I want to go check for that character because I want to see if it's a Palom, Iridia, a Tela, or a Fu, because all of those open up different grind options. I was kind of hoping it would be like a Palom so we could just do a reaction grind, since I figured that's one of the few things penguin8r might not think about that I could get an advantage with.
Clever. Meanwhile, penguin8r, you also pick up the Darkness Crystal right behind her. How you feeling about that pickup?
See, I'm also thinking about setting up slingshots at this point. I think I already checked the Baron in character with a Rosa, so she's well positioned for that. And knowing Tela's out there somewhere and we have to get him eventually, it's also contributing to hoping for a slingshot. And I think also at this point I realize, well, my Yang's already still pretty low level, so a slingshot on him as well would be nice.
We checked the bosses down at the basement. It was Ogo, and I believe it was Baigan was down there as well. Or was it the...
Yeah, that's Baigan.
Yeah, I got the guard sprites sometimes confuse me, so... I noticed you both just run in there and check see what Ogo is the lunar sparkle down there, so you can sort of mentally cross that off your list.
I'm pretty sure we were both looking for Wyvern there. Because, like, whenever you see a lunar sparkle on a spot like that, you kind of just want to see, is it Wyvern, just to get that off your mind?
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. Dia, you're heading down to take care of the Sylph cave check right now, or at least get this to Sheila 1 active. Well, penguin8r, you're actually going to be heading over to Dwarf Castle, I believe, to do some more shopping. This is one of the biggest differences I noticed when I watched this earlier, is that you do a lot of shopping, penguin8r, while Dia seems to prefer to just sort of blaze through and do as little shopping as possible, at least from my perspective of watching this earlier. Does that sound accurate to you?
Yeah, so this particular dwarf check, I was specifically hoping for sirens, I think. Still hoping to get a little bit of a boost on Kane with an egg. But I think in general, well, I usually end up checking all the shops. I think in this particular match, I probably could have adapted. And a few times I thought about skipping some shop checks, but I guess I didn't really fully adapt to what the seed was throwing out.
On the other hand, it does give you access to a few more interesting items that you can use in different places, and you know, be able to handle some different situations that might show up.
I think generally with Swiss seeds that end up going long, you'll probably net an advantage. Just checking pretty much all the shops, picking up all your tools, making sure you're well prepared, and even though you often end up with more items than you need, it's much better to have that than versus like being in the middle of the moon and running out of lives or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're about to hit the Gauntlet spot here with Dia, and guess what? It's Odin!
Yep. So there's our boss hunt done. So at this point, I'm just thinking, okay, where's this Tella? Because everything else is kind of open except for that package, but I'm more concerned about the character hunts than the key item hunts.
True. penguin8r, you're going to raise the whale right now. I guess you wanted to take a look and see what character was waiting for you on the moon.
Yeah, I think I was even also thinking about Siren still. Probably tunneling on that a little bit too much, but getting the character as well is helpful, and maybe a helpful early character, or just may help us plan out our grind, still with a mind to slingshots.
I was considering going for the whales after going back up, but I figured I may as well go get the heal first and beat this spot, because it shouldn't be too big of a time difference between doing it now and doing it with the character.
Unfortunately, you just got a crystal ring out of that fight, but at least it was the Odin boss checked off. So it was definitely necessary to do. And as you head on up to Sheila 1 here, I think you also get the rat tail. It's something you really can't use right now. Meanwhile, penguin8r, you're heading over to Hummingway, check the shop there. It's a pretty nice shop here. It's got coffins for one thing.
Yeah, the coffins are a little expensive, but usually try to pick up a few. Of course, there are a few bosses they work on and some grind options where they are helpful.
Sure, and as Dia heads over to raise her whale, we get to take a look at the character who's waiting for us in the lunar subterrane on penguin8r screen. And sure enough, it's Tella.
Yep, so one more objective crossed off. And at this point, I'm really starting to think about that slingshot. Basically just have to do our deal, then pick up Rosa. And then we can get pretty high level people pretty quickly. So
Absolutely. Anytime you have the giant access and access to the weak spell, you've got to be thinking about a D machine grind. This early in the seed, at least.
So Dia, at this point, once you see the Tella, are you also thinking about the D machine, or are you considering other grinds?
After I see the Tella, I know like you have to do the D machine. I was hoping it wasn't Tella, so that the alternate grinds from the tail, because I find those to be more interesting. But once you see a Tella, you kind of get pigeonholed into doing D machine because it's just the most efficient.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think you would have done if it was someone else rather than Tella?
Depending on the character, I definitely would have had my mind around doing Black Giant potentially, because we have a Poem and we have a Thunderclaw.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was open. If it was a Palamore Iridia, we could do a reaction to get a couple levels. So there were a couple different things you could have done here. Just to get Tella instead.
One thing I noticed that you bought in the Basidia shop Penguin8r was Succubus, which is not an item you normally see people get or use. Is that something you find useful?
Yeah, it's somewhat situational. So basically, if you don't know what it does, it's like the Psych spell, so it leeches MP from an enemy or from another ally. And so especially if you're running someone like Tella, who's pretty MP hungry, can be helpful in a pinch to get some MP back, especially if you didn't find any ethers. And it's pretty cheap, so if it shows up, then I'll go ahead and pick some up. And I know Inven and Rivers are big fans of Succubus as well. I've kind of picked it up from them.
Yeah, and I don't think you had found the ethers at that point, so it definitely makes sense to pick those up while you're there.
So, Penguin8r, you're about to do the Gauntlet here, and you're about to find your Odin as well. What are you thinking about the seed at this point?
So, when I see the Odin, well, really starting with the Tella, then when the Odin shows up, really feeling like the game is telling me this is going to be pretty fast, this is going to be a D-Machine slingshot. Because right, with the Odin, that's a third objective, and we have access to the White Spear Altar, that's the fourth one. So at this point, it's really just the package missing. So I'm thinking, all right, let's get our party assembled and let's do that grind and start clearing out that moon.
Meanwhile, Dia, you're taking care of Pale Dim, which was the lunar sprite next to Rosa, and you're about to take on the next boss, which is Mylon with his ghosts. I noticed you took a very interesting strategy here by taking out Mylon first. Is that something you normally do?
In this situation, I didn't want to deal with the physical attacks in this spot, and I had an Hourglass in order to freeze the ghast. So I felt like it was just a safer play and most likely a quicker play to just take out the Mylon first, and then take care of the zombies after.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, Penguin8r, I saw you knocked out Yang there, so you wouldn't get any experience. You're really thinking about the slingshot at this point, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'm going to do that for the next few fights, which may cost me a little bit. I'm not sure if it ends up being really worth it. But yeah, I'm preparing for getting double experience on him as well as Rosa.
Yeah, for me, Yang is doing enough damage that I didn't feel it would be beneficial enough to slingshot him. Like, because I wanted the early game damage. Because otherwise it would just kind of be Kane trying to get through this.
And again, in Penguin8r, you got the rat tail from Shiloh, the first check there, and you got the crystal ring. So, I mean, aside from getting Odin here, not much from Fabul.
Yeah, crystal ring can be nice just for the extra agility and defense, but of course not a key item.
So at this point in the seed, you're probably thinking, okay, I got to find the package, and it could be literally anywhere in the game at this point because you've got access to everything pretty much.
All right. So with that one spot required at the White Spear altar, that's going to be the first target because we know we have to do that. Package could be there or anywhere else, but check that one first. And probably also go for the moon because it's pretty high density. And of course, the moon's pretty hard, so we're going to do our big grind before that. And that's my general game plan.
Yes, Dia finishes up her fight with Mylon, gets the other tail, the pink tail. Again, not terribly useful at this point, but it's probably more valuable to have Rosa and get your fifth party member here.
Yep. And I could have played on Rosa, because I'm pretty sure I just have her lay on the ground for these next couple of fights. But I like doing the burn-in spot before deals, so... And I couldn't remember what the character was, so I wanted to kind of check, take stock of what my party was at that point.
And once again, you see that we're going to have a little bit of a high five between the runners again, because they're both climbing ordeals at the same time. They're going to be taking on the boss at about the same time. At this point in the game, Dia's finished Baron in, but penguin8r's done a lot more shopping, and I think has a lot more information as well. So it's still a very close race at this point.
And I'm definitely looting a little more. I saw Dia skip some of the chests, which let her actually get up to the top a little bit before me. And again, probably I could have made an adjustment to loot a little bit less. Kind of feels like at this point, the seed's giving us everything we need pretty quickly. So looting is perhaps not as important.
And we got the Dark Imps in the first spot of the ordeals here. You both throughout the hourglasses, stopping them in their tracks. Pretty standard play. But one thing I do want to point out is, penguin8r, you have a couple items in your inventory that you picked up somewhere that you use to get through this boss very quickly.
Yeah, so those coffins come in handy. I think I kind of don't want to use all of them. Of course, they're pretty expensive. So instead, we use a little trick. I think Simbu discovered this last year. So if your first action was that hourglass and then some other weird conditions, then most of the time you'll get that swoon proc if you attack with an assassin dagger for the instant kill.
I think I probably sold those off.
No, but it was a very smart use there to get you maybe about a 45-second lead in that fight there.
And you also notice I killed off the Yang, again, setting up experience, and it kind of helps me here with gold as you want fewer people up.
Yes, going to this the second fight here, which is Golbez, you definitely have to wait a little bit less for him to kill off one of your characters.
Yeah, I think I tried to kill off Tella with the dancing dagger, but Kane wasn't quite fast enough. But I think I get lucky anyway, and Golbez goes for him first.
I was checking the numbers on this fight, by the way, and I was surprised by how much spell power this location has.
Yeah, so I was a little scared coming in here. I know the spell's pretty high, so I wasn't sure if I would get the Star Veils in time.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a 50-50 if you get the Star Veils without having size or anything at this point available to us.
penguin8r, you do manage to get up your Star Veils in time to reflect some pretty nasty spells back onto Golbez.
And you having the King in the middle actually helps you out. I had already moved my Tella there, so Golbez was faster for me.
Yeah, especially with a Cane, I'll actually usually use a faster anchor in the overworld. Since most of the bosses are relatively slow, you can actually kind of slow them down a bit by having a fast anchor. And with Kane, the extra accuracy also helps because most of his weapons aren't max accuracy.
Yeah, unfortunately, we see on Dia's side that she can't get the Star Veils up in time and has to take a reset.
I'm just trying to like, do I have sights anywhere? But no.
And I usually won't bother saving after that second bridge spot, but with the Golbez there, I didn't want to sit through that again, especially and rely on the RNG as well.
No, absolutely. If there's something surprisingly nasty in the spot, you don't want to have to go through that that cutscene again. And it's a Stardust Rod here. Normally a pretty useful item, but given this party configuration, not exactly great.
Yeah, I can help tell a little bit, either just using as an active item or just a boost for his accuracy.
And it's just Rubicon here. You know, it's a very quick fight, given the fact that there's not many hit points at this location. And this time, Dia does get her Star Veil up, so only just on Kane though, but that's probably fine. That's enough. And so now, Penguin, you've got your Tele fully activated. You've got your Whale. I think there's only one place where you can be going right now.
Well, I do still need to go pick up Rosa.
That's right.
I need my fifth character. Because you can only slingshot if you have a full party.
Yes, that's right. And Dia does finish up with her Golbez fight. Probably very happy to see the back of that.
And I'm the same with Spinner. Generally, I won't save there, but with it being a Golbez, I did not want to chance it.
I don't blame you one bit for that. Well, you do. Penguin8r does head up to Troy to do a little shopping first. Find some Thor rages, I believe.
I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking for. I think I haven't found life potions yet. And of course the ether is also nice if we're going to do D-Machine. Make sure to keep Tele topped off. But I'm thinking we only have the 15 starting lives. And so if we're going to be throwing out, 5 to 10 on the D-Machine fight, and then if we have to do a lot of other fights, then might be cutting it a bit close to stay at the starting amount.
Right. You also picked up, I think, some kamikazes.
Yeah. Kamikaze is one of my favorite items. Can do lots of clever things with them and helps with setting up your slingshots. Easier way to kill off your characters.
Question in chat: why can't you slingshot 4 characters? It's just the way the game's been programmed. Is that you need to have 5 characters in your party for it to work.
Yeah, to get the double experience on characters who are behind levels, you have to have a full party, and they have to be 5 levels behind the median.
And okay, this time I think I got this right. Dia has gotten to Baron, finishes off ordeals, has the Tele with weak, has the Whale. There's only one place that you're going, right?
Yep. I could have went to shop for life potions, but I have 3 people that have the life spell, so I figure I should be good.
Penguin8r does find the lives in Kaipo, though. So you do have a decent amount going up to do your grind. And also, while you're in the area, Penguin8r is going to check out the Mist Cave.
Kind of feel like I'm still playing the seed as if, I still have 5 objectives. I think I could have probably focused a bit more on rushing the moon at this point.
Right, but if you do find that Mist Dragon somewhere where Dia might not have looked, it could be to your benefit.
Yeah, but I think I should probably just be playing for a more standard play, going for kind of the higher percentage checks.
Sure. Uh, so, Dia, here you're setting up your grind fight, and I have a quick question for you about this: is when you go into your D machine grinds, do you have like a number in mind of a number you want to kill in order to get all your experience, or you just go until you have what feels like enough?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. Like, if I had like a base level ready, I know I want to do 60 machines or 12 with the life pitch to get her to new. For this party, had 2 ether 2s, so I was just gonna go until I ran out of ethers on Tella.
Makes sense. We were just talking about penguin8r, but I did just see you use a kamikaze to kill Yang and failed him in one go, so that was a clever usage of the item there.
Yep, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, basically. Or 1 kamikaze, as it were.
And you got some decent, especially because you have your tele powered up now, you can get to the Mylan fight fairly quickly.
Yeah, having that Stardust as well, those viruses do decent damage. It's probably the fastest way to kill this thing. Could do a level 3 spell, but it's a little bit slower of a cast.
Meanwhile, Dia's found the right fight and is starting to clear it out to get ready for the D machines. Didn't seem like you had many problems finding it.
No. Just use the chart. It works.
And now the penguin8r has finished up with Baron. You take a beeline to the giant as well. And we've got a little time right now as you guys both are doing your grinds. What's your mindset right now about the seed?
It really feels like the seed's, I guess, jetty.
Yeah.
Like, given us, 3 objectives almost directly. Well, really 4 even, with the white sphere. So, I don't know, just feels like grind and get it done.
At this point, it's just kind of like, okay, where's this package going to end up being? Because that's going to kind of decide everything, I felt like.
Yeah,
I know,
to that vein, so I'm thinking Moon's probably the best place to go hunting. We have most of the map open to us. Moon's the highest density, probably.
And we have an objective up there, so...
Mm-hmm. And so I'm hoping for, I guess, a high-level Rosa and Yang to clear through the Moon quickly.
At this point in time, if anyone has any questions for our runners, we've got a few minutes of grind to talk about. Please post in the chat, and if you have any questions you want to have these guys answer, it'd be great to hear from you guys. In the meantime, looking at the party configuration you have, you got Tell, who's basically going to be your agility anchor. You got 2 white mages, and you got a Yang and a Kane. Are you have any qualms about saying that this is going to be your final party configuration?
The only thing I would change at this point is just grabbing a Fu. Like, other than that, this feels pretty set in stone.
Yeah, I'd be willing to swap out Porum because she's not going to get slingshotted, so she won't be as useful. But I'm fine with this. Kane and Yang can do enough damage, just Berserked, and Rosa can heal and use whites, and I'll take her pretty much anything.
A question for you in chat: how are you keeping Tell in the right battle order spot?
I think he maybe has a first ring on, so everyone would be RA1.
So I actually put a crystal ring on Tella to try to get him closer in levels. I'm not sure if that's actually a good idea, but it kind of helps him to keep up with the others and not get double turned. Or get lapped, basically, with everyone else taking 2 turns.
Actually, for me, it was kind of Rosa that was ruining my agility.
Penguin8r, I'll ask you the same question I asked Dia earlier. When you're going into your Demon Machine grind, do you have a number in mind how many?
So in this case, my main target is white on Rosa, which with the double from the slingshot means I need to do 9. But I think I end up doing 12 or 14, just because I was thinking, well, we actually have to fight through a bunch of moon bosses, and you might want a few more levels. So I did a few extra beyond that. But typically it's going for particular spells on the mages.
I know there are like calculators out there that'll tell you how many you kill in order to get to the right levels. I never seem to remember to use them during a run.
Yeah, I have several numbers memorized. I just also have a short reference sheet just for myself to check on. With Rosa, I know that number very well because we got her to white in the vanilla run, and it's, well, 17 needed in vanilla.
Question for you in chat, Penguin. Did you take an alternate route to find this grind?
I was using the standard chart. I think what Jophis is referring to is I kind of ran back towards the front door because the encounter I got on the chart told me I could stay in the same room. So I figured I can start walking towards the door, and then it'll be easier to walk out. Although I think I end up warping anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So
If I didn't have the MP for it, then it'd be a little faster walking out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about 40 minutes into this seed. You're in the middle of the grind fight. You've got 3 objectives down. You've got a pretty clear idea of where you're going to go next. How you feel like your opponent is doing at this point?
At this point, like, it's kind of hard to tell because, like, it's so jetty. Like, as far as I'm concerned, they're ahead of me. Because, like, for me, I always want to think, like, okay, they're ahead, I just need to go as fast as possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure I was thinking too much about it. I guess in theory, with Underground and Moon open, either one of us could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
So I guess it's possible that Dia wasn't necessarily prioritizing grinding as much, but I think I kind of figured that Dia would be doing something similar.
The one thing I've noticed, I've talked to a lot of people during the course of this tournament. I've noticed a lot of people seem to always want to play with the mindset that they're behind, so there's almost this level of impetus to their play. So I find that very interesting.
I guess I would apply that only to how you execute particular fights. Like, I'm not going to take extra safety just because I feel like I'm ahead necessarily. But routing wise, I think you can run into some trouble if you feel like you're too far behind, because if you overly gamble, then well, you're taking a lot of risk.
No, absolutely. I've in the matches, at least I've played personally, there were times I felt I've been behind, only to watch the restream and realize that, oh wait, I was actually ahead at the time. I made some gambles I probably didn't need to make. So I'm right there with you. Meanwhile, Dia, you finished your grind. You got about, I think, 45 or 50 levels on all your characters, so you're end game ready.
Yep, at this point now, just kind of a boss rush.
And you're thinking, straight to the moon, right?
Yeah. At this point, I have an objective up there. I just want to go up there and get all that done.
And I think we're going to be seeing Penguin8r finishing up his grind fairly soon. I think you actually wound up doing it a little quicker than Dia did. I think you got, but I think you only needed about 40 levels or so.
Yeah, I think I did a bit less. If I remember the resulting levels, I think her Rosa had more HP, and I believe Dia did not have the slingshot on Yang, so my Yang still ends up at higher level, I think.
Yeah, but your Yang's only barely ahead, so like you don't. The damage difference isn't actually that big.
Mm-hmm.
Where it always feels like it takes a minute and a half to get through all the new things you learn after you do a D machine grind.
Yeah, it would really be that long if we didn't have the abbreviated gain 39 levels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vanilla, it shows that 39 times.
And you're using warp to get out of the giant as well, I see.
Yeah, and even though I was right by the door in that first room, I do have to use warp there, because if you walk through, then warp decides, oh, you want to go back to where you just were, and then you have to do it 2 extra times. So if you want to warp, you have to warp all the way. You can't walk part of it.
Wow, it's the long walk through the moon for both of you here.
And I think like the going bottom up is kind of like the only reasonable way to play this moon, just because like the white sphere is your objective and density is at the bottom as well. So it just kind of feels like that's the way you have to play this moon.
I does seem like that's the way you should go here as you hit your save point here. And you choose to go to the ribbon room first to fight the boss there.
Yeah, that's kind of just autopilot. Like, as soon as I get in this, I'm like, oh, I probably should have done Pig Spot first. But it's not gonna change much, right?
And it's the Dark Elf, and not a terrible boss of this spot, really.
It's actually kind of annoying boss to see here, because you can't use white on it.
I guess considering this this part configuration specifically, that does stunt your damage output.
Yeah.
Do you know actually if the Dark Elf form absorbs white, or if it's just a Dark Dragon? I always forget.
I'm not sure if it's just the dragon or if the Dark Elf does too, but I didn't want to risk it in case it did.
Mm-hmm. Does your cane also have a Gungnir spear here? Is that our best
No.
weapon?
I only have the Blizzard still.
Thought I found a Gungnir somewhere.
Yeah, you did. I never found it though, because I did so much dust moving.
You get to the change here. Where you can just hourglass it and beat it down really easily. Oh, you picked up a second cat claw for Yang. I must have missed that.
Yeah, I found lots of claws and chests this game, which was pretty fortunate.
So, Penguin8r, you've saved up here, and you're going out to complete the white spear first.
Yeah, with that required, I'm going to go there first, because it's just that, plus the package for Go mode. In theory, this could be the package in Give Go mode, but that's pretty unlikely, given package could be anywhere.
Right. And it's the plague fight, and given both your levels is this is going to be a quick fight. You don't even need to worry about doing any of the life strats to get through it.
Yeah, and even though Yang is a better character than Kane at this point, and in general, Kane's better for this fight because spears get double damage against Plague with the air elemental.
The deal, one of the benefits of clearing out that the ribbon spot is I think you did get a spear for Kane, correct?
Yes, I got a white spear.
And once again, you guys are tied up. And again, just so much damage output this party for this boss that you don't have to worry really at all about having to juggle life potions or anything. And
honestly, I probably shouldn't even use white. I think the animation there probably took longer and didn't really need that damage with the two attackers. Oh, and a package.
Oh, and hey, there's that package. What are the odds? Now, I've got to ask you, Dia, after you kill the Plague boss here and you do see that package, what are you thinking about going to the ribbon room first?
At that point, I'm just like, oh, crap. I knew that there's a very real chance that cost me a race.
And after seeing that package, Penguin8r, you know we're not going to let you roll any more seeds, right?
Yeah, I think I banned myself, actually, at the moment I saw that.
So it's off to burn the village for you and get your 5th objective and get your crystal. Dia, you're right on his tail at this point.
And one thing I was considering doing here was checking your bed before going to Mist, just as in case it was a food.
That's right, you did pick up your sand ruby, didn't you?
Yeah. I end up deciding like there's so many character checks left that it's almost guaranteed not a food. Also, I put my whale over here, so when I burn this, I can just go walk right to it.
And it is an edge in Mist. Normally, a character you're happy to see, but at this position, definitely don't want to take him in.
Yeah, if we had found some spoons and Excals and things to throw, it might have been worth it. But not having those is definitely not, and having levels on other characters.
Package was at the vanilla white spear altar, which was the 5th objective, so you got a 2-for-1 deal there. So there's crystal on both sides. Now it's just a matter of getting to the moon. Of course, that does mean since we never found the pass, walking through that the subterranean again. And Penguin8r, you're going to make a little detour here in Baron, picking up some more Cure 3s. Do you think you needed those for the fight?
Yeah, I probably only had a couple from before, and I think I was figuring it's probably okay having Rosa with Cure 4, but wanted to play it safe and just make sure I had those as backup.
Right. And so, as you're about to see, Penguin8r, you're off to the moon about 51:15. Dia picks up her whale and is off to the moon at 51:23. It's about an 8-second difference between the two of you right now. So I asked you guys this question again like 50 minutes ago. I'll ask it again now. How are you feeling about this now that you've got everything done? Do you think that you could possibly be this close to each other?
I guess.
I mean, it happened. I guess it could be, yes.
Honestly, like at this point, I'm not too shocked that we're so close together, because this sea was actually really linear for how open it was.
Yeah, thinking about the checks we actually did, like, I guess you could have technically cut out Ordeals and Baron in, but then
But
you
you-
have 3-man party and it'd be a big struggle.
And if you cut out Ordeals, you don't do D-Machine.
Yeah, you have to do Mac Giant or something with 3 characters, which sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So, traditionally at this point in the race, we would ask a question. I'm not sure what the correct way of doing this during a runner review would be, but you know what? Tradition is tradition. Let's ask it anyway. As we head on over to Zeromus, we have to ask ourselves, whose butt were we going to kick at that point? I'm sure there's a proper tense in the English language that I could use to correctly communicate the correct time here, but I'm not smart enough to figure that out.
Also, one thing I do kind of want to point out here is penguin8r uses the save room here, but I saved outside to skip the 2 transitions. So I actually get a little bit of time there.
Yes, you walk right past the save room there. I did make a note of that as I watched it. So there you go. It's a 5-second time save.
Hey, every second counts in this race.
Oh,
absolutely.
Clearly. I don't know if I've seen a race come down to such a close photo finish at this point. You know, you're just walking to, just tracing each other's footsteps at this point, as you have been for almost the entire seed. And as we finally finish the long walk and face off against Zeromus, I'll ask you this first, Dia. What was your strategy for this fight?
For this fight, I was just gonna rely on my 2 physical damage dealers. I didn't really want to risk doing anything weird with the fight, and I did not end up picking up unicorns like I usually do. So that was kind of off the table for me. And I don't think Form has a bite yet either, so it would have just been Rosa.
And penguin8r, what was your plan for this one as well?
So on the other hand, I did a lot of shopping this seed, and I did pick up those unicorns. So my plan is to berserk up Kane and Yang, have them hit Zeromus for a bit, then use the unicorn to stop them before I trigger that refill, and then pop off a couple whites with Rosa for the finish.
And our Zima sprite tonight is Demonmus. I'm at a loss to explain this one. I don't know what it is.
This is something they do in Final Fantasy VI, which may or may not be a glitch or intended. I don't really know the details. It's like a background you can set for some reason.
I vaguely remember that, yes.
And you get lucky here, you get the new Gauntlet.
I was going to point that out. Of all the luck, penguin8r's Tele goes down while I think, yeah, Rosa eats the nuke on Dia's side. Listen, I learned so much about so many different games by playing this game. Between this and the music in Magnet Cave, I swear I learned so much more just playing these things. And you both faced the Big Bang at about the exact same moment, both being nerfed, of course.
I guess I do have, I think, 3 Bacchae in my inventory, but with all those white mages, I don't bother using them. Probably could have gotten an extra white off if I had used those instead of berserking with spells.
One thing I was interested in seeing was the difference between Kane's attack with the white spear versus Kane's attack with, I think we still had the Gungnir.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And here's that unicorn use from penguin8r's side. clearing out all the berserks. Did you think you got it in time?
Don't remember in this one. I think it was pretty close. I think what's a little bit tricky is Porum has my wall, but she's about to die, so I'm gonna have to set it up on someone else. I guess that works out anyway with the black hole coming out soon. To answer chat, the Unihorn removes the berserk status, so it stops Kane and Yang from doing too much damage, because once you get over 45,000, then Ceremus refills its HP.
And as we hear, you're both down to 3 people. Penguin8r, you do get that Star Veil off, and we wait here. You are using this cure freeze.
Yeah, those are kind of twofold to have, you know, of course, having enough health, but also having an action there to buffer your turns can be helpful and make sure you're not losing time when you're menuing.
Absolutely. And with that reflected white, you did get it done, and that is a retroactive GG for finishing this seed in under an hour.
Yeah, I think I got a little lucky with that white roll. That was over 9,000. If it was lower, I probably would have needed an extra white, which would have been a little bit harder to set up, although I guess I could have done a direct white.
Meanwhile, Dia, you're still fighting, and you have the 3 people up, but you still have this well in hand, don't you?
Yeah. At this point, it's not really scary because Yang's HP pool, he can just kind of carry this.
Now, Dia, were you looking in the SRL chat to see if Penguin8r did the dot done? Or were you playing? Oh, you were? Yeah. So you knew at that point.
Yeah,
that must have been...
It was like just like a little rough, but like I knew I made mistakes, so...
And there was a flash on your side as well, so I believe your final time was just north of an hour.
Yeah.
You almost had the dream of the double sub 1. So close. So close.
It's a GG to you too, Di. It's one of those things, it's 1 hour, 3 seconds. I don't know if you're ever going to see a race where the losing time is 1 hour and 3 seconds, so still really well done.
So, Penguin8r, one thing I wanted to point out to you was that wipe to Golbez actually may have been the difference, because that was around 1 minute 20 seconds that I lost on a point flip.
Yeah, there were a number of things I think that could have been the difference. Just real quick, want to point out seed name on my screen, Yeetum. But yeah, watching it back, you definitely had a stronger early game. A lot of that was just me looting and shopping more, but you had cleared the overworld quite a bit faster than I did.
I think like a lot of that was kind of like, I didn't really care to find the life potions. Because like, we have so many white mages.
I must say, watching that back with you guys again, that, I mean, even though it was, to be fair, a very jetty seed, both you guys just executed that almost perfectly. It was just so impressively done. So it's really GG's to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys have anything else you want to add about, you know, how the seed looked now that you've watched it back with us?
Should I go on theaters?
Definitely banned from rolling seeds.
Yeah, I also do think it was picking up that unicorn. I don't remember where it was.
It was in the Hummingbird Cave.
Yes, yeah, that is also might have been the a big difference because Dia did not have that available to her when she did her Golbez fight. So once again, I just want to thank you guys for taking a little time out of your day and coming in here talking to us through this race. And like I said, I think it was just an amazing run for both of you, and I wish you the best of luck in the future rounds.
Thank you. It's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure.
Absolutely, and thanks to everyone who's watching. I hope you were as impressed and amazed as I was sitting here watching this again, and I hope you had as much fun as I did talking to these two amazing players. We're going to be heading out now. We're going to be rating, I believe it's Puexel, who is currently doing some practice on the Gauntlet. So please give him your love when you head on over there. And we'll be starting in the 4th round of matches. I believe it's starting tomorrow. I think we have some races already scheduled for tomorrow. So please check out there. And thank you very much. And I will see you next time.